Mina nkosi yami mangifudumeza iroom ngishaya isigubhu.
All good, my brother.
I'm good, and yourself?
Siyaphila bhuti mana akho nto siyacenga nje. Sicenga impilo. Do your thing. You let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, no, I'm right. I was just warming up the room, with some music. So that kungathuleki njengoba sikumele, yabo?
Kulungile, hayi.
Yebo nkosi
You
yami.
can introduce the subject and we can start.
All right. Let me just make this up. You're not hearing any echo today, ne?
No, brother.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, no, everyone, welcome to today's live. This is Lima Kara's live. I'll be hosting my honorable brother, Usandile Wakamatsikani Mtsweneng. We had a lot to discuss yesterday with regards to Kemet and the connection to Ningizimu. A lot was discussed yesterday. My brother will share the video on his YouTube page. Please go and follow him, Sandile Tukane, on YouTube, and you will actually find the video. Just an overview of what we had discussed yesterday. We basically spoke a lot about our cosmology, where we spoke of star systems. We spoke of Silimela, Pleiades, and we showed correlation that our people actually have cosmology or cosmological knowledge. And that knowledge system, it is not lost, as some other people would like to say, where they even say that our system does not even follow the lunar or the solar calendar, which is a fallacy. So yesterday we discussed that in length, and I hope people actually got to see what we were talking about and really understand when we are saying that we are actually the kids. I don't want to even understand. Let me say, we are the descendants of the people that were there, because it is made to look like our people, we don't have any sort of civilization, and we never had anything to do with the building of certain structures here in this land. But when you travel across this land, you see vast stone ruins. They call them stone ruins. But when we check, we see that they were actually cities. Those were cities. And you need to understand how big a city is. So, yeah, so yesterday we spoke a lot about that, cosmology. And today I would like us to get into some names, Nkosiam. I wanted to touch a bit on the so-called Egyptian pantheon of gods, as they like to call them, the Egyptologists. Guys, please, let's tap the screen. Let's get to 5,000. Let's share the live to like-minded people and people who would like to learn from what we are discussing. I would like for my brother Sandile to also introduce himself. Cordially, because he does so very well, and I don't want to do an injustice. But yeah, the subject for today is from Kamtu, or from Kemet to Ningizimu, which is the south. So I just wanted to, give us that introduction, and then we will carry on with the subject. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sandilo Wamatsikane, for gracing us with your presence.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, Bhuti. I appreciate it. Yeah, my name is Sandile. My surname is Tugani. Yeah, I what am I going to? I'm an indigenous person, you know. I'm an
Yes.
enthusiast. I'm enthusiastic about all things our people. Well, I mean, we are brought up in a system that elevates and puts on a higher echelon all things anti us. Remember when I
Mm,
was in high school, how much I did learning about, Galileo, Galilei, learning
mm,
about Avogadro, learning about Euler, learning about Niels Bohr, all these scientists and whatnot,
mm,
But what those things do, they sort of like create a psychological state, not only psychological but also psychosocial state of mind that renders you intrinsically feeling, or not even feeling, but it renders an intrinsic state of assumed inferiority. Because if you're someone who's passionate about science, you are doomed then to worship Greek, school of thought. You are doomed to worship um, Western school of thought. And if you're more on the researching side of things, you start to learn about the Near East Islamic school of thought, like algebra, because that's where all those names come from. It's Arabic. So anyway, um, I realized early on that no, man, why is there no way that we can? I think there's an echo. Why is there no
okay.
way that we can find similar discoveries from our people? How did they manage to survive for so long, for so many years, for so many lifetimes, if all they do is to eat, sleep, and drink and repeat the next day? You would have seen in one of Gayton McKenzie's posts, and these are the kind of stuff these people recycle in their communities. um, they use stuff like this to sort of like perpetuate a stereotype that our people were these lazy, monkey-like creatures. Our ancestors were these lazy monkey-like creatures who did not have any interest in self uh, propagation. They didn't want to catapult themselves, better themselves, and all that. Anyway, so one of the first things I did was I was driven by an intense, deep seated need to learn about myself more than anything. I still say that to people who maybe approach me, who want to learn about these things. I always tell them there's nothing more important than learning about yourself, because that automatically and inevitably leads you towards a path of learning about everything else, because yourself is everything else. And obviously it takes time and patience. You need to do and go through the boring part. You need to do and go through the boring part. It's what I was saying yesterday, that we cannot be lazy to think, we cannot be lazy to dig, and only be excited at these quick fixes, because then you embarrass yourself. That's why you have Kingdom of Kubala, which is something that has never existed. There was never a Kingdom of Kubala. Now, that is not to say there were never black peoples in Europe. I mean, there were black peoples in Europe, there were black peoples in China, in Japan, in the Philippines. Some were immigrants from Africa in ancient times. Some were the indigenous people. They were there. But you don't have to claim and create stories and make up stories about that, claiming that Scotland is your land. No, there is a genuine, history of people who were black in Scotland. Surnames like MacDonald, these are Scottish surnames. And if you listen to the surname, it literally gives you what kind of people those were. So, but things like Kingdom of Kubala and the Israelites, the American Hebrew Israelites, the ones, specifically the ones I showed that day, you get to that level through, to some extent, this incessant laziness, this refusal to actually learn truth above trying to prove a point. Learn truth, because truth won't choose your side. Truth will not choose your side, but truth exists in and of itself as truth. Align yourself with truth, you will have a very nice life. You'll have a very free life. You'll a very smooth life because you don't have to defend much. So I'm Sandile. I learn about things. I love it. Um, yeah, my mother gave me the name Meliqiniso. That's the name she gave me. And then someone else gave me the name Sandile Sizwe Samamfene, which became my government name. So I am Sandile Sizwe Samamfene. Meliqiniso. Thukani ndinguhlathi mina ujambase uhlathela ingothiwa sele livutha lothiwa zimfene ndingumsuthu umfene ucanzi usanzanze sanzonza kwavela umntu ndingusandlalanca urhwala emgodleni umntu wakulo mayikane wakulo vimbisa wakulo rhwala emgodleni. I'm gonna just stop there because I'm gonna go on for 20 minutes if I continue. Yes.
You must do that one time. When we are having that long vigil, you must do that. Like just to show off that we can actually introduce ourselves for 20 minutes. You know what
Yes.
I mean? So memorizing a book that is 1,000 pages is nothing because our people were actually taught how to memorize, not to cram, but to memorize. Um, Greetings, Brother Pumi. I trust you are well. I think you had a question for Usandi.
Camagwini, khanya lesedi.
Aya.
Uthe nomkhulu uthe umdlala yo sangishaya manje phela bengikremile la Sandile manje bayangibhukuza abogogo bakho.
Sandlalanca.
Mdlalanca.
We, we sleep on
That
grass.
yes, that is very profound. But here and ungangizwa kabi. Mina kimi umngoma. Ubungoma is not only limited to ukuthatha amathambo ashaye phansi. And this is where I think isizwe sakithi siyaperisha because immediately bathi ngumngoma, then I'm limited to ukuthi kumele ngihambe ngiyothwasa or something. But wena umngoma okwaziyo ngayibeka kanjani bheka ziyangibalekela. But give me umngoma and I'm not limiting you in terms of when now you're like ugaya umuthi into ezinjalo.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes, you're more than that. More like we sanos in a way because no one taught you ukuthi manje you must deconstruct and it came about you try ukuzithola. So ngicela ungazilimit, ngicela and ungasabi ukuyisho lento ukuthi umngoma because you are a timekeeper at the same time. So unokhuluma nawe ezinye izinto. I'm sure nawe nokuthi mawubukela ama-video akho how did I even think how did I make 1 2 and 2 to be a sum of this thing? Because I listen to you and sometimes unokubona mase ikuthathile ukuthi ayi yena uzitshela ukuthi uyakhuluma but akusakhulumi yena they taking over because you are raising other people abangasekho la but they find a way of talking through you when you are busy having your own conversation. And ngicela ungayishiyi every time uzintroduce ngicela uyifake. Bengiyitshela umkhululi ngathi wena umngoma hey wangibiza ngomkhulu mina ngisikho lento le he kept on refusing it until I think recently he gets to understand it and appreciate it ukuthi I did not limit him bengamlimiti ukuthi hayi umuntu nje you can just predict or umuntu okuconsultwa no it's just this new way of limiting us as abantu. Ubungoma can go and can take you back to time. You can get there. I mean, I think when I grew up, there was this one gentleman, yena bekazibiza uGumede. And then I later find out, no, this guy is just hiding because there's a lot of people that are looking for him, and he only works ngabantu like abathongile. That guy would never like actually matambo. When you'd come, a vendor person would come there. Laba babeka egate. Uzothi mawuvele ekhoneni, and then you start speaking your language. And mega normal, and then I go ask him, Mkhulu man, why when uwazi wonke lama language? Athi hey mfo, mina ngithi ngitshela into eyi-one. Mina ayikho enye ilanguage engiyaziyo except for isiZulu. It's just that abantu engibabizayo, or rather abantu abeza kimi, abantu ekumele ngibancede, I know ukuthi kumele bavele. I just know. And I don't know how, and how I recognize it vele lo muntu kumele ngimncede. I know ukuthi lo muntu uzomthakaza, ngizombiza ngey'bongo zakhe asavela. And mongangibuza manje ukuthi bengithini, I can't. And I think I got to appreciate that. Never mind being say Christian mengikhula, I did not understand it. Uyaloya lo baba, uyaloya lo baba. No, it's impossible. But I got to understand it. I think manje it makes more sense. Bakuqwabe like beyangadlali lento bekuye. So what I'm trying to say is kahle kahle when I show ukuthi I get to come sometimes. If you notice it, I just come. Sometimes I'm taping October because kunalabantu abangilandelayo ababi, who always want to debunk me, and that's the only safe space enginayo. So I come there, vele ngithule ngithi, "Eish, I don't want to invite anyone because I'm learning.
Yeah.
There's a lot I've learned through you. This
Thank you.
guy ungitshele into like this, I've never shared this nomunye umuntu. It's something that ngafundiswa ugogo. Ugogo uzala emahlubini. Uthola umsindwana udlanga amandla ulaphana ini bathini ibhaca.
Yeah.
So these words ngiyazibuza ukuthi hayi man yini ibhaca, why thina uzothi ngibhaca, because bekakwatile ya ubhaca bakho kuvelile. What do you mean? And now I get to understand. Ooh, it's not a bad thing. I did not come, rather, abantu bakaDlamandla did not come there because they took over people's lands or something. There was no war that happened there. That is why they were able to assimilate as one of Xhosa people.
Yeah.
And nokuba neproblem ke mina bekumele ngizichaze-ke Sandile, iyangishaya because kumele ngicabanga ukuthi angisumXhosa, you know that, because they didn't. Sisuka nje isibongo sami sithi udla ngamandla uZulu. Hey, ngibe neproblem ukuthi hayi man nguZulu kanjani kodwa ngaphi ngikhuluma isiXhosa wonke umuntu like. So I think naleya nto ukuthi identity trauma yangishaya ukuthi hey, ngintwana like I could not assimilate because I'm like, no, mina ngumZulu, but don't name yourself something that you're not. You are older than uZulu. Isibongo sakho unaso lesibongo sikaZulu, but that does not mean ukuthi umZulu. So I think I gave up along the way. Ngathi hayi ayayikho yonke lento le yesintu, because bengifika bekumele ngibe umXhosa ngibe umXhosa enough because nalento lena ibongweni zami nguZulu. Mengifika ngalo kugogo bathi hayi thina samaXhosa singamahlubi. And through this this classification of people being Xhosas and Zulu, manje I did not fall anywhere. Angiweli ngapha maZulu, angiweli ngapha emaXhoseni. When I getting to claim lesi sikagogo, I couldn't claim it because nabo bamahlubi, and they are very vocal about it. No, ngangibizi ngeXhosa, ngisumXhosa mina ngihlubi. They made me aware ngisasemncane, and I did not understand. I think listening through you, I was like, finally I find my identity to go to, okay, I assimilated to be this. And kuwesingapha kabobaba kwadlangamandla, because kunabadlangamandla amatolo angapha. There's a family KwaZulu Natal. There's a family engapha. So how do I classify myself now? So mungifika ngale kwaZulu, they say asamazulu. Mungifika ngapha, asamaXhosa. So I think ngibe naleya identity crisis for some time. But I think the more you're teaching, I'm like, okay. And thank you very much. So ngicela ungayidenounce umngoma because yeah, ngikhuphukele nje ngisho 'cause I'm like ngiyakuzwa mawuzithutha and everything. I'm like, but why lo muntu angayiclaim le nto ukuthi umngoma? Because you start opening up people to not say ukuthi ufumngoma kumele uyothwasa. That it does not mean that ubungoma. It had nothing to do nokuthwasa. It has everything to do with knowledge system besinayo. And yeah, I think I want to land it there because bengingazange ukuzokuphazamisa, ngifuna ukuthi nithi ngiyangiphazamisa because ngithanda ukuthi wena uma ukhuluma ngibe lapha phansi ngizokwazi ukufunda kahle mkhulu.
Yes. Oh, Qamaku mkhulu siyabonga. I'm not gonna comment, but probably over the course of the session, then I'm gonna touch on it. But yeah, siyabulela, siyabonga, realibua. Identity is bigger than us, you know. Identity is bigger than ethnic groups or tribes. It's indaba yegazi. So it's a heavy issue. That's why many people, if they don't find the right balance in their identity, it bothers them for a very long time. Uyabona. But kunento ethi ke sisusa inkungu emehlweni sigabula izigcawu. Oh, that's what we are doing now. We are sweeping enkundleni. Qamaku, Brother Makara, I will wait for your signal. I'm not sure if Mr. Limakara is with us, but I'm going to need him because I don't know what he wants us to talk about particularly.
Njengoba sisamele ke i-chance yami le ukuthi ngibuze. Mkhulu, kunabantu bakaTantane. Do you know them?
Bakwa?
BakaTantane.
Tantane.
Eh,
Is that a last name or a clan?
it's a last
Sisbongo?
name. It's Bong. It's okay. Lack of shy because ziningi engingazazi. So current surname right now, but Amankwali.
Oh, Mangwali.
Yeah. Amankwali
Oh.
kahle because nale problem because they keep on saying ungazibizi le nto, ungazibizi le nto. So ngifuna ukwazi Amankwali njengoba bazibiza amahlubi kanti amahlubi are they how were they existing before coining ubunguni, or they were already there, or they came out of ubunguni?
Okay, kulungile. I think most people don't understand what Ubunguni is. And I think sometimes because of historical reasons, yabona, like the battles between the different groups, people end up not liking each other. And unfortunately, in their not liking each other, then they will use any convenient reason to distance themselves from each other. Yabona. So sometimes you'll find Abambo, some distancing themselves from Ubunguni. But there are two aspects to Ubunguni. Kuno Ubunguni as descent, as people who are descendants of Abantu who have names Mnguni. Yabo. And then kuno Ubunguni of just being a descendant of the group of people abangabenguni. So there are some people who will try to say there are no Nguni people. No, Nguni people exist. Akhona Nguni, but it's not some fixed identity thing. You're good. If you are Nguni, then you are not this. No, 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 no. Within Amahlubi, who are Abenguni, generally there are particular clans zikamnguni. So think about onozulu emahlutyini, onozulu othukela ompafane. Now omnguni, if you actually listen to the name nozulu, it tells you ukuthi these are highlanders, people who dwell on high valleys or up high in a valley or in on top of hills. And ubunguni is related to that as well. One. Bakhona abantu abangomnguni naseSwatini ngokwesibongo uzofumana ohlakalovu abanguni bangasentla, uyabona. So there will be a separation culturally between abenguni nabambo. That is a cultural separation. It's not a genetic separation, uyabo. Abenguni nabambo, it's a cultural separation, but they are the same people. Unfortunately, because of historical reasons, some groups battled other groups. People try to create their own version of history that's going to support their current feelings. But unfortunately, that is not how reality works. So you have bakaqwabe, omnguni kayeyeye, abantu bakamayandeya, bathi ukubeletha ukubeyetha. Baninzi ke zininzi izibongo ezingumnguni. Kofumanise ezi zibongo, they come from completely different nations. Now kunezizwe, kunezibongo, izizwe amahlubi ayesisizwe long ago. By the 1500s, amahlubi sisizwe already. They may be called by different names over the course of time, but basisizwe, they exist. And in fact, some records of history, if you go to abantu abaseLesotho today who come from KZN and crossed over to Lesotho in the 1600s, many of them will tell you that they left KZN because of Amahlubi. So they were being mistreated by Amahlubi. That's what they will say. For example, Baputi, they relate that story. Amahlubi, they were too bebahlutshwa ngamahlubi. That's how they put it, bon. Bebahlutshwa ngamahlubi. I don't know what ukuhlutshwa means, but you can imagine culturally amahlubi come and take their cattle, sometimes battles, etc. So they were already a nation by the 1500s. That one is not a doubt. Ubunguni was already there by then. Ubumbo was already there. Yesterday in our live, I went and showed you the earliest records that were written down by Portuguese in the 1400s. Already there's a land known as Ilizwe Labenguni, which is where abantu bakaqwabe are found. There's a land known as Ilizwe Labambo, which is what became Natal. So Ubumbo and Ubunguni are very old identities. It's a collection of related groups that, remember, Ubumbo, we did say that these people practice primarily a metallurgical type of life. Yabona, they bayemba izimbiwa. Abenguni are people who dwell on foothills, are people who dwell on valleys. Yabona. And then within these groups now, there are specific clans in both Abembo and Abenguni that trace some kind of lineage to people known as Omnguni. It's a name. What does the name Umnguni mean? Highlander or high-class people, nobles. Yabo. Abenguni, nobles. Someone was saying izolo when we were having the discussion, ukuthi kuhlangene ingqwayingqwayi. But ingqwayingqwayi also means noble in isiXhosa. Ingqwayingqwayi is a noble people. That's what ingqwayingqwayi means. Yabona. So Abenguni are nobles, Abambo are the Smiths. Yabo. These are two groups that are the same people but specialize in specific things. So if you look at Abenguni, that is to say the people abazwa ukuthi ngabenguni, amantungu, amaXhosa, and all these groups, they have a specific linguistic striking linguistic similarity. As a Xhosa speaking person, I can very easily, point out some very strong similarities with a Ndebele speaking person from Zimbabwe. We are born. And as a Siphuti speaking person, I can very easily find some extremely striking similarities with a Ndebele person or Kwamulendlan. Although all four of us can understand each other, but you will see indlela yokuphimisa amazwi, umphunga wokuthetha or umphunga wokuphimisa will align more on groups who speak in a form of ukutekela. They will have a strong alignment in terms of pronunciation, accent, and intonation. Whereas groups that use ukuzunda when they speak. So, more than anything, ubunguni nobumbo are cultural. They are not genetic at all. One, and then within those cultural groups, Sabingu Nabambo, there's so much overlapping because Nanga Mashubi is Bizomguni, but then you also have Okwabe Bas Bizomguni, Nanga Maswati as Bizomguni within Ubu. And you must remember now the nations is Izwe that we have today, all of them are mixed. There's not one nation that is homogeneous. Amahlubi are mixed. Amazulu are mixed. Amaxhosa are mixed. Basotho are mixed. What do I mean mixed? What I mean is that it's a mixture of different indigenous groups. Some share direct lineage, immediate lineage. Some don't share immediate lineage. Yeah, born. So within Amahlubi, then you'll find groups that are not Amahlubi originally, but they are part of Ubuhlubi today. Onkwali ke ngawo Amahlubi in essence. They are Amahlubi. In fact, the Eastern Cape bakhona onkwali, onkhwanansi, olusu, onkwali inkosi, ovinjwa, omhlophe, obukula. Baphansi kwamahlubi in the Eastern Cape, onkwali. Uyabona? I do know about the clan name. That's why some people may call them Amamfengu. Now, Amamfengu, the name Mfengu simply means, the immigrants or the exiles. It's like saying Izimbacu in isiXhosa. Now, Izimbacu or Imbacu comes from the word ukubhaca. Therefore, Imbacu ngabantu ababhacileyo. That is to say, exiles or refugees. Same thing, ukumfenguza. I know people try to claim that this word doesn't exist. No, the word does exist. It's not just used for amamfengu. The word is also used by some abatembu. They are called in English the emigrant tembu. Some of them in the Eastern Cape, when they recite their clan praises, bathi abatembu abamfenguzela elizweni lamaXhosa. All I'm trying to say is that abakwangwale ngamahlubi. There's no evidence that suggests they are not Hlubi. Within Amahlubi, you find clans that directly state ukuthi bona bangomnguni, blah, 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 blah. Just like within the generally accepted group called Abenguni. But both Amahlubi, Abambo and this Nguni group, they are literally the same people. They are one people with one culture. Specific practices that may differ here and there. But if you go deep enough, you realize ukuthi abantu abanye. I'm gonna stop there now. Deviate. Ubrother Lee he must conduct things so that I can start.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, people needed to hear that because, we do have this quarrel between Namahlubi, hey, we are not Zulu, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. I want us to get into the subject, because yesterday we did touch a bit on what is Embo and what makes the nation of Abembo. And you explained it eloquently, and I think angeke mina ngisakhohlwa. Hi, Pumi, you're not a foreigner. But I just wanted to get into the next question, Nkosiyami, with regards to like how do we connect, or can you enlighten us about the connection of ancient Kamuntu with the rest of Southern Africa? If we can, just give us a little overview on that connection. It can be linguistic, it can be cultural, it can be tradition, it can be custom, like whichever pillar or aspect that we can use to actually showcase that. Thank you.
All right, my brother. I think let me start. Remember now, yesterday, one of the last things I discussed when we were talking is that if you read the Book of the Dead, the what do they call it? The Papyrus of Hunefer, the Book of the Dead. One of the most famous lines there is that we are we are from the beginning of the Nile, the dwelling of Hapi. The beginning of the Nile is Central Africa, my brother. And therefore, the very source of that civilization is Central Africa. It's written in the Book of the Dead. It's not my opinion. So that is the first connection. Like geographically, the very source of all the cultures that developed there had to have been Central East Africa. So that's a geographical connection already. Secondly, there's a genetic connection. So, from what we know as Central East Africa, the source of the Nile in those Great Lakes region, what you end up having is people who migrate north. Let me say people who move north, not in terms of the cardinal points, because north cannot be changed by someone's culture. It's like saying now in your culture, the sky is not the sky. It's land. No, the sky will always be the sky, regardless of what your culture thinks. So north doesn't change because people claim the map was shifted upside down. Yes, it was shifted upside down, but even if you can shift it back, the north will remain the north because it's a fixed position on the earth relative to other positions. The sun will still rise where it rises, even if the map is shifted again. Why the reason the map was put upside down is because people who were traveling from there saw coming south as going up and going north as going down or lower. And that's true. To this day, we still speak like that. South is upper, north is lower. We still speak like that. I mentioned it yesterday, but upper and north are not the same thing. So south can still be upper and north can still be lower. So it's important to understand when people talk about upper Egypt, it's not North Egypt, it's upper. It's upper. Even in the north itself, there's still lower and upper areas. Even in the north, even here in South Africa, we still have upper South Africa and lower South Africa, but we are in South Africa because by people's linking south and lower as being the same thing, that would mean every place is lower, but that's not the case. Even in south, you have lower and upper. Even in north, you have lower and upper. You have east and west. Even in east itself, you still have west and you still have east. Why? Because they are fixed. Doesn't matter where you are, you could be in the west, east is still there. So that's the first thing. Now, when people went to lower Egypt from Central Africa, certain cultures evolved from there. These are cultures that are known generally as Nakata cultures. These are the people who dwelt in Kom Ombos, which I mentioned yesterday. Now, the most beautiful thing is that a lot of unveiling was done in that region because they found graves, They found graves, and those graves gave clues as to the genetic upmake or makeup of those people. The genetic makeup of those people. And the genetic makeup of those people literally linked them to who? To Central Africans and Sub-Saharan Africans. Southern population, Central populations. Now, when I say Sub-Saharan Africans, I'm including West Africans, I'm including Central and Southern. And these, they were done by Europeans, by the way. I want to try and find in the course of this thing, I want to try and find the names of these people so that you know exactly who I'm referring to. You can go and actually look at the studies yourself. And I'm talking about the very beginning of Egypt, of Kwamuntu. I'm not talking about 3,000 years later when there's, Asiatics. I'm not talking about where there's Greeks. I'm not talking about when there's other groups. I'm talking about the very source of what became a culture there was a sub-Saharan African. Sub-Saharan African, what it means is that people who live below the Sahara. in this case. So the genetic sequencing of all the skeletons that were found there and all the cultural artifacts, more than anything, tells us that they were people who lived below the Sahara in Central and Southern and even Western Africa. So that means the cultures that grew in that area between the Great Lakes region and what became Lower Egypt, Upper Egypt, no, Lower Egypt, which is like some part of Sudan today. The cultures that existed there are related to the ancestors of the people today that we see as Central Africans, East Africans. And as you do more unearthing, of, these ancient cultures, you will see some East African elements. You will see some West African elements. You will see some Central African elements. You will see some Southern African elements. That's not wrong. People feel like they can own ancient Kemet. No, it was not one group of people that were there. It was many different groups. Where do we come in? We have the oldest DNA in the world here in the southern part of Africa. And that's where we come in, because those skeletons that were found there do link to hunter-gatherer populations in southern Africa. That's just the truth. They link to hunter-gatherer populations in southern Africa. So there are genetic links. I don't even want to talk about just the language. There are genetic links as well. Now, I'm gonna talk about the language. I don't mind, but I think sometimes people think we talk about language because we don't have proof of the genetic links. Even here in South Africa, you'll find some fools, some anti-black fools when we talk about, oh no, queer this, queer that. No, but what's the DNA? The DNA, how many people must do their DNA for you guys to see the reality? Desmond Tutu did this DNA. He was very dark and he came queer.
Did he come out Asian?
No, he came out queer. Desmond Tutu. He came out queer. It's there. It's public.
Mm.
Yeah. And then Nelson Mandela did his DNA. He came out queer. And many other people. And by queer, it doesn't mean they are from Cape Town. They could be from, their ancestors could have genetic links to people in Zambia, but still be queer. Being queer doesn't mean you are locked in Cape Town. It has nothing to do with that. These are Africans who were seen in ancient times. They were in Central, in Northern, in Eastern, and Southern Africa, just like every one of us. Just like every one of us. So the genetic links are there. Now the phenotypical links are there as well. I mean, the looks of the people. If you listen to the likes of Herodotus and many of the Greek scholars, they literally describe the people. They literally describe the. But there's one thing I'm very interested in. One of the hieroglyphs that I used to particularly, communicate. It's called the phase hieroglyph. It's called the phase hieroglyph. I like it because it shows something. I'm just gonna share my screen, brother Makara. If you can just give me a bigger screen. Yeah. So this is one of the hieroglyphs, by the way. It's quite controversial. It's quite controversial. Your Egyptologists don't like this one. They don't like this one. They don't like this hieroglyph.
People who know the South, they will know that
Exactly.
those are Mufukeng's ears, and there's nothing you can do about it.
You see the ears, you see the nose, you see the eyes and the lips, and you wonder why all the statues and all the different sphinxes don't have faces. But let's do something funny. Let's do something funny. Let's search Egyptian uh Nose. Sorry, it's coming. Let's search Egyptian nose and see what's gonna come. Aha! I like this one.
I can't see.
Oh, really?
I don't
Can
know
you
why,
see
but
now?
it's fine. You can continue, Mukosami. Maybe it's feed on my side. I think we had the same problem yesterday, but you can continue. I think people can actually see. If you can
Yeah.
see on the chat, please just press one so that we make sure that everyone can see what Sandile is showing.
So
Osaya,
this is the this is what is considered the Egyptian nose. Nah? They consider this the Egyptian nose, and people will be talking online about this Egyptian nose nonsense. But for me, the interesting thing is that a lot of these statues don't have the nose. A lot of the statues don't have the nose. But if you go to the hieroglyphs that are meant to represent the face, you can clearly see what the nose is like. Like, it's not rocket science. You could clearly see what the nose is like. You can clearly see what the eyes are like. You can clearly see what the ears are like. Who's that man who acted as Mufukeng on Emzin Wezin Sizwa? Anyone remember who that man is? His name?
Jerry Pele.
Jerry Pele. Now, let's take someone like Jerry Pele as the average face of a South African man in his late 50s, I guess. Let's take his face as the average face. You see this face here?
Look at the ears.
Hey, I'm struggling to find a decent picture of this man. He's always smiling. What are these faces that he's doing? That's why the man, you must have serious pictures. We can't always be smiling. Now I'm struggling. Anyway, if you look at this face, look at the ears, you look at the nose, for me, it seems like it's the same thing that I'm seeing here. If you look at the eyes, they look like the typical epicanthic eyes of South Africans. You know, South Africans have these epicanthic eyes, and it has nothing to do with the shade of your skin color. It has nothing to do with the shade of your skin color. South African eyes are generally epicanthic. Whether you are light skin, whether you are dark skin, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna show you something. This young lady, they like to put makeup, go to an album, and it's hard to see the real face. But if you look at the structure of her face, this is a proper South African face. Proper. And I like because it's dark. People think we are obsessed with light. Light or dark doesn't matter. But I like the face because if you look at the nose, if you look at the eyes, if you look at the very structure, you see something similar with Arti of Punt. Né? Arti of Punt. She displays characteristics consistent with South African indigenous communities. And this is not to say Arti of Punt is South African. This is not to say this lady is South African. But I'm saying there's a clear alignment phenotypically with these populations, how they are displayed, and how Southern African populations tend to be displayed.
I mean, I'm saying he is South African.
Yeah, you may, as long as you can support it. But for
Definitely can
me,
support
it's not
it.
even about that because South Africa is a construct anyway. It was a construct of the British. This is an indigenous African. We are indigenous people. And purely from that fact alone, we are genetically connected. From that fact alone, we are genetically connected. These are short people, by the way. And they've got big noses, these ones. So you can clearly see there's an element of stereopedia here, which is a South African characteristic too. It's a South African characteristic too. But this is not the only instance of short people in the northern parts of Africa and in the Nile Valley. There's many other instances of people who are shorter in stature, who do have a distinctly Southern African look in modern times. Now, we could go and look at, the king. Look at that nose. Look at that nose. The nose does seem to be aligned with Southern African nose. And even the features of this king is the same. Anyway, that is the second line. Remember, I spoke about the genetics. If you go to this channel here, Mr. Imhotep, let's play this thing actually quickly.
Of Naqada. Most experts agree that the development of ancient Egypt was essentially indigenous. The Badarians and the people of Naqada in Upper Egypt constituted the dominant indigenous cultures. Anthropologists Tracy Prose and Nancy Lavelle inspected their remains.
Yes, you see? Now, these are the people you want to look at their work. Nancy C. Lavelle, she's a bioarchaeologist from the University of Alberta. This is Tracy L. Prowse. She's an anthropologist from the McMaster University. So you want to go and look at their studies. You don't want to just believe what I'm saying because you like me. That's not how it works. It doesn't go up according to whether you like me or not. You must go and see it so that you don't just believe everything people say, including myself. Go and see what their work consists of. Obviously, it's going to be hard for you to find their work because it doesn't align with the Egyptologist agenda, but go and find their work. It's Nancy Lovell, the bioarchaeologist from University of Alberta, and Tracy Prowse, the anthropologist from McMaster University. These are European women, and I'm mentioning them particularly for a good reason. But you can also go to, check Antiope's work as well. Check Anta Diop. Look at this gentleman, follow this gentleman's work as well. Understand? You could go to Dr. John Henrik Clark's work. And these are people that, will talk generally about this subject. But those two scientists did the DNA sequencing of the founding culture, which we know came from Central Africa. Look at his work too. And then I forgot the other one. There's another gentleman, but I forgot. But these two, they literally looked at the DNA. And I want you to go and check it. I'm still discussing the genetics because I'm tired of people thinking we are only holding on to this language thing. Language is literally the easiest thing you can work with. But the genetics prove. Let's see.
Who were the people of Naqada?
Firstly, I want you to check out the hair. It's the hair I posted recently. Amagaga. This is the hair of the founding culture of whatever, Kwamuntu, Kemet, Kamati, whatever. People will always fight about these things. This is the founding culture. This is the hair they display. It's hair that stands on its own, little tufts one by one. Amagaga. Amangoba.
Most experts agree that the development of ancient Egypt was essentially indigenous. The Badarians and the people of Naqada in Upper Egypt constituted the dominant indigenous cultures.
Look at that.
Anthropologists Tracy Prose and Nancy Lavelle inspected their remains. They discovered that Naqada.
Here's a study. Concordance of cranial and dental morphological traits. Concordance? Let's go to Google and actually tell Google to look for this. Allow while visiting the site. Google, please bring me the study by Nancy Lovell and Tracy Prowse written Concordance of Cranial and Dental Morphological Traits and Evidence of Endogamy in Ancient Egypt. Where's Google now? It's fine, guys. I'm not going to waste time. But yeah, this is the name of the study. Concordance of Cranial and Dental Morphological Traits. Take a picture, and then you'll go and read that on your time. Now, if you think this is boring, that's what it takes to actually know things. It's the boring stuff. It's not the exciting stuff. Oh, Kemet, the place of the gods of Kemet. Nah, that's not what it takes. That's the stuff that people delude themselves and deceive themselves with. When you're looking for real facts that can actually make you You can stand on a global stage and actually argue with people. You need real arguments that are evidence-based. And for you to get the evidence, you actually need to do the research.
People had a higher status than their Egyptian peers.
Although it cannot be determined conclusively from their results whether the higher status of the symmetry T individuals derives from an accumulation of material wealth or from a religio-politically determined royal heritage, the conditions of favoring genetic drift are such that status at Nakada was likely ascribed rather than achieved. Thus, the origins of the Egyptian state may very well lie in the socio-political organization that was headed by ruling families or lineages.
But something else surprised them. Phenotypically, the Nakada people were a bit different from their Egyptian contemporaries. Surprisingly, they were more like proto-dynastic Nubians.
Yes. So the Nakada cultures, the founding fathers of Kemet, were more like proto-dynastic Nubians. When you hear the word proto, just remember it means before. Before even the dynasties were developed. So the people of Nakada were much more similar to the proto-dynastic tribes or societies of what is the Nile Valley, which means the people of the city of gold, Embo.
In other words, they were also black, yet they were...
I repeat.
Surprisingly, they were more like proto-dynastic Nubians. In other words, they were also black.
In other words, they were also black. Let's read. It is presented in figure 2, and which demonstrates that 1, the Nakada samples are more similar to each other than they are to the samples from the neighboring Upper Egypt or Lower Nubian sites. And number 2, the Nakada samples are more similar to the Lower Nubian proto-dynastic sample than they are to the geographically more proximate Egyptian samples. So the Nakada, who are the Nakada? The people who lived in Como Ombos, the very first group of people. The very first group of people who were the ancestors of the cultures. It's not one culture. This is the stupidity of black people today. Everyone wants to come and claim dumb nonsense on the internet. It was not one culture. It was many different cultures. It was thousands of years and many different indigenous African cultures. That's why almost every region of Africa, people can see themselves in these cultures.
Yet they resembled very ancient Nubian inhabitants from areas like Custal, where the earliest
And
royal...
remember, the source of this river is Central Africa. Central Africa, where the god of the flood, where the god of the Nile dwells.
tombs were discovered.
So the earliest royal tombs were discovered here, most likely 24 degrees north above the equator in the Golden Meridian.
As if they were a Nubian immigrant aristocratic community that had established in Nakada, but no evidence of significant population migration was found. However, this is compatible with ancient Egyptian literary works like the Edfu texts or the
Edfu texts. The Edfu texts, you go and look for the Edfu texts.
prophecy of Nefertiti, claiming Nubians were Egypt's ruling families. Pharaoh Narmer, Egypt's founding pharaoh, would be descended from the Nakada people.
The founding pharaoh of Kemet or Kwamuntu or founding pharaoh came from much closer to Central Africa. Came from much closer to Central Africa. The very founding pharaoh, Nama, he came from that population of the Nakadians, whose DNA connects them to even sub-Saharan populations.
Subscribe to the channel and watch longer videos about this story.
So that's one. Let's look at another one that will give us some idea. Let's look at some other one that will give us some idea. I want especially the ones about the Nakadians, you know, the culture of Nakada. Because there's a problem with people. You must understand the founding culture. That's the most important thing. You're not going to connect Kemet with people from 2,000 years ago. It's full of Greeks by then. It's full of Greeks by then. It's based on very ancient beliefs, and the oldest groups in Africa today are in southern this cultural, linguistic, all pinpoint population. We have Africans. What is most of our in southern Africa? The 8 and the 9, the 8 elements and the 9 elements, which give us creation. This gives us creation. Just give me a second. And let me know when you can see. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Okay. So there's this is a group known as the Great Ennead. This group is one of the many, there are many other groups that feature in what we call myths of creation. There are many, many, many other groups. These ones were called the Pisikat or Pisidat, the 9. The first one you see there is the invisible, the unseen, the unknowable, the unknown, the one you cannot perceive. Atum. Atum. Now, if you look at, let's see what the name actually was written as. They say Atum, it was actually written as Jatima or Jatimwa. JTMW. They just inserted their own vowels and they assumed it's Atum. Or Tima. Tima. Mr. Magara, what does Tima mean, brother, in your language?
To like extinguish a fire or to switch off a light.
Exactly. To extinguish, to bring to an end, to bring to the finish line, to make something to be done, basically, to cut something
Yes,
off.
utima. Yes.
Yes. And then this Jatamu or Jatima. Yatima. What does that mean in your language, my brother?
You mean like how tima nto kore wayiqeda, you finish it. You
Okay.
seize its end or
All right. Now you are done. Don't worry. They say sometimes it was rendered as Atem, Hatima, or Temu, Timu, or Tim. I like it because it connects very perfectly, very, very perfectly with the word called Ima from the click roots, Ima, to complete, to finish. Now, let's look at what some of the studies have said. The name is thought to be derived from the verb tima, which means to complete or to finish. What did I say? I told you. Well, I didn't even tell you. You found it in your own language. Tima is to complete. Tima is to finish. It's here. It's not me. I'm not the one saying this. I'm just showing you. Thus, he has been interpreted as being the complete one or the finisher of the world, which he returns to watery chaos at the end of the creative cycle. As creator, he was seen as the progenitor of the world, the deities and universe having received his vital force of Ka or Ka, the soul. So he was seen as the switcher, the one who can switch off, the one who can bring to an end, but also not just bring to an end in a destructive manner, but also bring to completion the cycle of creation. Remember, from the form of physical matter to the form of nothingness, the one who can switch off. And this is the name this is how the name was written. This is how the name was written. Yatima or Atem or Tim. It's actually Tim or Tima. Timao. Timao. Look at this. Timao or Timayo, the one who switches off. This is just one. And he's seen as the one who obviously oversaw the creation of what we perceive as the world today. Now, after Timao or Atim, what gives us atom? Atom also means the complete one, by the way. The word atom also means the undivisible one. The complete one. Remember, the final form. That's what an atom is. Atom and atom literally mean the same thing. After atom, you have shu. Now look at what they say about shu. Firstly, I want you to note shu's headgear. The light feather, which represents lightweight and things that are rising, right? Now, shu, they say it's shua, 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 HW, shua, emptiness, or he who rises up. Watsuha. My brother, what is to rise up in your language, Mr. Makar?
Ke utsuha. Hutsuha.
What are they saying here? S, the sibilant, and W. Do you understand that in some of our cultures, the sun is referred to as Duba, Iduba, or Juba? Sometimes as Duwa, the one who rises, the sun. Shua has to do with rising up, somewhat of a cognate with Tuwa. Zuwa, Chua, Duwa. It's also related to the word for heat and warmth, because heat causes an expansion of molecules. When molecules expand, they rise. When the air molecules expand, they rise. The air or the wind rises. Things rise when they are warm. It's like when you're baking. When you bake, things rise. You look at your loaf of bread rising from a small piece of dough. When you cook with heat, the rice starts to I don't know if I can say expand, but it literally absorbs the water and it rises. It expands its size. Same thing with pasta. Shu also then is related to the word for heat, which is why in isiXhosa you have shu, whereas chua or tsuha also goes hand to hand with the word zuwa and duba, liduba, litsuwa, the rising sun. AtamaXhosa impakama, which means to rise. So remember, the first one means the destroyer, the complete indivisible force, like the atom, cannot be destroyed. It is literally the final form, the complete form. Atima, atum. Now this one is the one who rises, the warmth, the heat. Let's go and look at the mythology. In Heliopolitan mythology, the atom, the complete one, the destroyer, created the first couple of the 9, Shu and Tefnut. This is Shu. But how did he create them? By masturbating or by spitting. Shu was the father of Nut and Geb. Hey, let's go. Who's Tefnut? Before we go any further, we're gonna understand who's Tefnut. You can see he has a canine face. It's a feminine that has a canine face, head of a lion, and the sun disk on the head, and you can see the snakes as well. Let's look at the name Tefnut or TFN. We are Tifana, and T at the end is for the feminine, Ati or Kati. Ati or Kati. We are Tefana, Ati. Utefana comes from the word ugutifa, to spit. Ugutifa, to spit. Therefore, utefana ati, the feminine one of the nature of spitting or moisture. The feminine element of moisture. That's it. Wetness is a deity in ancient Egyptian religion. Obviously, these dumb words, I'm gonna overlook them. The feminine counterpart of air god Shu. What did I say about Shu? I said it's Ushushu and Ujuwa, to rise. To rise. It's not just air, but it's the rising force, the rising air. Now, this rising air is tied up with moisture. Tefnut, the one of Ugutifa, the one of spitting, the one of spit, which brings about moisture, or what they call masturbation. It says that her mythological function is less clear than that of Shu, but people have suggested that she's connected with moisture based on the passage in the pyramid text in which she produces water, and on parallelism with Shu's connection with dry air. And dry air does tend to be warm. She was also one of the goddesses who could function as the fiery eye of Ra. Now, dry air, its counterpart is moisture. The two balance each other out. The two balance each other out. So it says the first creation of the atom, is what? Is warmth, air, dry air, and moisture. Shu and Tefnud, personified as these beings. Shu, dry, hot, air, being masculine. Tefnud, moisture, fluidity, being feminine. Remember now, fluidity and femininity go hand in hand. Because women are the flow. That's why you call a woman ma. Because ma is the ancient word for water. Mai, we call it mai. We call water maila. We call water mati. We call water manzi. We call water maji. Fluidity, wetness is the representation of mama, the woman. Mai, mama, the one who brings about the flow. The one who brings about the flow. Whereas the man represents the hot, the scorching power. Ta, ta, ra, ra, re. Think about the word ukota, to scorch yourself in heat. Think about the word huora, litsatsi, huora mullo, ukota umlilo, ukota ilanga, ta, ilita, ra, the sun, the scorch. So the heat, masculine, the water, feminine. So these are the first two creations then. The wind that is hovering above the water in essence, because the water represents the primordial chaos. Have you seen the waves of the sea? Let's go and see the waves of the sea. I want you to understand the primordial chaotic water. The primordial chaotic water. Let's go and see it so that we understand. And also it connects very nicely with females, because when you are being born, the water breaks. It brings Egyptian stuff. I don't want Egyptian stuff. I want water. It's bringing me other things now, this thing. Okay, it's fine. I know what to do. I'll just look at the North Sea. Yeah, they did tailor our research, these people. Yes, you can't see anything except what they want you to see. You know how crazy this water is? It's even crazier when there's no sunlight. It's even crazier because you cannot see anything.
All colors are he ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die. You all hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die.
I like this kind of videos because they show the sheer power of the water. The sheer power of the water. But yes, you have the two elements now, the element of dryness and the element of wetness. The wind, the warm wind that rises above the water, and the wetness, which is represented by, it's moisture and dryness. Now, these are represented as the first couple. After them, what you have is they have a child called Nut and Geb. Now we are going now into the bigger manifestation of the first elements. Remember, the first elements are Shu and Tefnut, dryness and moisture. For there to exist Nu and Geb, you need Shu and Tefnut. These people understand that for there to exist water, you need moisture. For there to exist land, you need dryness. That's what they're saying. So Shu and Tefnut, dryness, dry wind, and moisture, give birth to Nut and Geb. Your night sky, and your land. Hey, let's look at what Nut represents. Nut is known by various other transcriptions is the goddess of the sky, the stars, the cosmos, the mothers, the astronomy, and the universe in ancient Egyptian religion. She's often depicted as a nude female covered with stars and arching over the earth, and sometimes as a cow. Now, the cow is very important because the cow, this is a picture of Nut, by the way. This is a picture of Nut. If you can see here, this is the sun and this is the moon. And this is the night sky and full of stars. This is the sun, this is the moon, these are stars. This is Nut. What is Nut? Let's look at the etymology of the name. The etymology of the name is Nut, or Ne in Coptic, or Neti. It is the word unyeti, nyeti. Nyeti, if you speak in Tegela languages, means unyezi, the night sky, with inkanyezi. Unyezi is the night sky, but also the sky that allows you to see the moon, which is also unyezi. I remember when I was young, if someone wakes up early while it's still dark, but sivuke ngonyezi. We woke up in the time of Nut or Nyet. Sivuke ngonyezi saleqa. We woke up in the time of Net, the time of the night sky. Unyezi. That is Nut. Nut is born with a sibling. The sibling is called Geb. Let's look at what is the meaning of Geb in our own languages. They say here, this is the root GBB, Gabab, or Gebeb. Gebeb, also known as Keb, was the Egyptian god of the earth and the myth. I don't like words like God and all that, and a mythological member of the Ennead. He could also be considered a father of snakes. It was believed in ancient times that Geb's laughter created the earthquakes and that he allowed crops to grow. Now, what you understand is Geb comes from an old word, umgquba, because this is just G and B. Nobody said you must put an E here, but they decide for themselves. This is the manifestation, the personification of the physical matter, the physical earth, the hard soil. Now, there's a word that we use, which means to grind. When you're grinding something into particles, like when you're grinding a stone into powder, like the sand, like soil, we say guba. And therefore the powder is umgubo. Both of which come from an older word, which means soil, earth, iguba, or umguba. Which we go to the click languages, it's gaib, the earth. Remember, atom, ima in click languages. Chua or shu is the same in click languages. Chuba, chua, to rise, or chua, to rise. And then now we're talking about gaib. So these words are not just in so-called Nguni or so-called Sotho or so-called what. They are in all these indigenous languages in different forms. Because if you actually understand what these people are saying, what they are saying is Geb also known as this, also known as this, but also known by whom? By all these different societies that I was saying that developed from Central Africa all along the Nile Valley. All along the Nile Valley. So there are many different indigenous groups. It doesn't mean just because we say Goob. Doesn't mean just because we say Goob or Goob, Umkuba or Umkuba. Other groups are wrong when they say Gab. If it means the same thing, it means the same thing, and that's it. That's it. And this is thousands of years old. So it is bound to be modified by each group. But Nut and Geb, Unyezi, Nomkuba, which means the night sky and the earth, they gave birth to this group now: Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. And these ones gave birth to Horus and Anubis. Now, I want to leave Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys, and I want to leave Horus. I want to talk about Anubis first. Let's go and understand what the role of Anubis is. Let's go and understand what the role of Anubis is. But we have to also look at the names. Firstly, you don't take the name as it's written because it's most likely Greek rendering. It's most likely not the original form in which the name is written. So already you can see that it's the Greeks who wrote Anubis. There's no such a thing as Anubis here. It was never Anubis. The Greeks, though, took this word, Inpua. What is Inpua? What is Inpua? Imbwa. Imbwa. If you go to the languages of Amalala, if you ask them what is Imbwa, they'll say, that's a dog. That's a dog. Now, if you look at the personification, it's a canine. It could be a dog, it could be a jackal, it could be a wild dog, but it's a canine creature. What is the significance of dogs in our culture? Dogs are companions. That's what dogs are. They are companions. They accompany you to your destination. One. But we were also taught when we were young that dogs represent those who have passed on. So you cannot chase away dogs. If they come, there's a ceremony, you don't chase them away because they represent the ancestors. That's what we were told. So not only are they just dogs, but they also represent companionship. They represent also those who have passed on. And it's no wonder to me that this is the god of funerary rites, protector of graves, guide to the underworld in ancient Kemetic religion, usually depicted as a canine or a man with a canine head. Canine means dog-like, basically, with those teeth. It's Imbwa, dog, the guardian, the one who goes with the hunter, the one who protects, the one who accompanies. And if you watch any of these films, Anubis always accompanies people, always accompanies you once you've passed on. Once you've passed on. Always. So you look all the different pictures, but if you know about the dog known as Vasenzi, the Vasenzi dog, or the Pharaoh's dog, you will see a couple of similarities with the depiction of Anubis. You will see a couple of similarities. So for me, these things are not even like weird concepts because they make scientific sense. When the ancients tell you that, oh no, the source is atom. Atom meaning the complete force, the complete element, the one that is indivisible, the single origin, the beginning and end. From atom, then you get what? You get shu and tefnut, the dry and the wet. Dryness, hotness, and moisture. Then dryness and moisture allow the conditions for there to be who? To be Nut and Geb. That is the sky and the land. You cannot have the sky and the land if these conditions are not. Well, then they say is that from the sky and the land, Atlantis, your Seth. We'll talk about these ones. I want to go to the Ogdoad now. But before that, I will allow you, my brother, to have a say, and then we move to the Ogdoad because that's another group. This is the nine. These are known as the nine. Now we'll go to the other group and see how we rendered them. But if you have anything to say, my brother Makara, I think you can use that. I'm just gonna grab some water.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mkul. I trust everyone actually got to hear what you were saying because these, as we are saying, these words are there. These words are there, and it's powerful. If people could get hold of a book called Bantu Rosetta Stone, like you will even find some of the words that you were talking about, like as you were talking about the dog Iwa, you understand, and how they explain it and how it actually correlates to what you are saying. It's quite profound, you know, and I really appreciate it. Even with what you were saying when you were speaking about Shu, that our people, even today, they still use like these names. Like they say Gushushu, as you were talking about the rising. And from a thermodynamic perspective, uh, hot air rises because it is being heated up, or because the elements or the atoms are being excited, like from a scientific perspective. So, yeah, I really liked it when you showcased that it is actually a connection of scientific principles, which is very important. I think people need to understand that these are scientific principles, you know, and the knowledge system can be told in different ways, you know, where you get some other people getting hooked on phonics because they don't understand the language, as the Egyptologists tried and tried to actually decipher. But as you can see, their decipherment is actually a little bit skewed. But yeah, it's a debate for another day. I think we as the people of the South and Africa, we need to do our own due diligence. You know, we need to really do our own due diligence and study so that we are able to come with irrefutable evidence. Is the same that the likes of Chick Ante Diop did. Is the same that Professor Theophila Sobenga did. You understand? Henry Clark. So there's a list of African scholars who are doing this dedicated work so they can show people that it's not just about the connection of ancient Kemet. It's about recognizing the civilization and the impact that Africa had. Because what you saw in ancient Egypt, or what they're showcasing, is just the tip of what Africa looks like in general. But obviously, they don't want to show you that there's also some parts that were destroyed. But yeah, we're not talking about that. You know? So, quite pivotal that when we do our own due diligence as people, we are actually able to find these connections, not some dogma. You know, there's a lot of misnomers out there. I don't even want to get into the black book with red pages. No, I'm just talking about other, you know, societies that perpetuate certain ideologies that you see out there, where now you are subjugating a certain people because you have a certain type of psychosis and ideology. Right. So with what has been said, I trust people are able to actually grasp the little of what we are saying, you know, and I trust that, yeah, you will make your own notes, you will make your own due diligence, and you can fact check us. And we would really appreciate it when you do that because it shows that we are actually having a constructive discussion. You can go ahead, Nkosiam, when you are ready.
All right, my brother. So there's a lot of things I'm gonna talk about, ne? But
Yes.
maybe I should continue just where I left off. Maybe I can, because I wanted to do the Iliad and then the Ogdoad. because mainly I'm gonna focus on creation myths, né? And just maybe to decipher them, because creation myths are what inform the general belief and feeling of the people. But let me just share my screen. You guys confirm as soon as you can see.
Yes, one.
Okay. All right. So we did Anubis Inbwa. We know the guardian dog. Now the from atom, the complete element, the indivisible, the one that cannot be destroyed, but the destroyer. You get Shu, Tefnut, dryness, moisture, and then from there you get Nut, Geb, the night sky, you get the earth, the ground. Then from there you get Osiris. Okay, yeah, maybe I can do Osiris, or Osiris as they say. Remember, we already have the sky, we already have the ground. What is Osiris now? Let's go there. I want you to first look at the color of this depiction. Yesterday, I did a bit of deciphering the colors. Remember when we spoke about Hapi, Umgabi or Ijelo Lomgabi, the river that overflows, Nile, Ichero Hapi, or Itero Hapi, Ijelo Lomgabi, the river that overflows. The color blue represents the flow of water. Gold is wealth. Yellow is prosperity. Green is fertility. These are the same colors you see on Happy, the personified flooding and fertility that comes with the rainy season. Osiris is not very far from that. But Osiris is not specific to the river now. It's the very general idea of fertility, agriculture, the afterlife, resurrection, life, vegetation. You understand? That's Osiris. In fact, if you look at the name, it's these 4 letters. Let's go and see if there's any guidance we can get in terms of the etymology of the name. The one of fertility. Wasi Jaro. Jara, what do you understand by Jara, my brother, in your language? Or anyone in the comments, because I want us to go together. The last 2 syllables, the last 2 consonants, Jara, comes in 2 forms. Yes. To carry.
Yes.
To carry
Uja.
something. Yes, hujara. To carry. To incubate. Hujara, to incubate. Yes. To prepare something to deliver something else. Like fertility is the manifestation, is the ability to carry and produce, basically. That's what fertility is. But this word is also related to another word, ukuzala. I like it. So jara, to carry, twala. And then jara, to bear, ukuzala, to give birth to increase. Wesi jaro, the one of increase, the one of the ability to reproduce, the ability to grow. That's why it's what? The one of fertility, agriculture, afterlife, resurrection, life, and vegetation. Ukutyala, ukutyala, agriculture. Wesityaro, agriculture, vegetation. So the very concept of jara, uzithwala as in pregnancy, the very concept of jara, ukuzala as in giving birth, the very concept of chara or ukutyala as in planting, all these things are the same idea because they are concerned with reproduction. But also the afterlife and the resurrection. The afterlife and the resurrection. I'm not going to go any further. What this is saying is that after you have Shu and Tefnut, which both come from Atum, the indivisible. The indivisible gives you dryness and wetness. From dryness and wetness, you have what? earth and sky, the atmosphere. As you have earth and sky, what then do you have? The conditions to reproduce, plant, vegetation. They are describing to you the preconditions for a world to exist. You need an atom, then you need temperature, and then you need air, and then you need moisture. When you have air and moisture, then you need the atmosphere, the sky. When you have the atmosphere, then you need the physical earth. When you have the physical earth, then you can actually have the conditions to do what? To do what? To have reproduction.
Yeah, it's a plant.
To have reproduction, to have plants. So when people say the God of this, the God of that, it's the actual thing itself. There was no person called Osiris. It never existed. The very concept, the very reality of reproduction is Osiris. The very creation of life, birth, agriculture is Osiris. There was no man walking around with the name Osiris. It did not happen. It gets personified. It's personified because then that's how you record history. Okay, I'm gonna come back on the other ones. ISIS and all that. I'm gonna come back. I wanna look at the this is ISIS, which is I'm not gonna really delve deep. I wanna look at something very, very interesting. The Ben stone. The Ben stone. I haven't had many people talking about this thing. I have not had many people talking about this thing. The whole thing of personification actually happens even in our mythology. It happens in our mythology. I spoke about recently about a mythology about Udulube, the bull, and Amagongongo, the monsters. And I'm saying Dulube was actually a king. The bull represents the king because the king is not like an ox. It's not like an ox. An ox cannot reproduce, but hey, a bull can reproduce, and therefore a bull represents the king, just like the pharaoh is represented by the tail of the bull, which we call Ichoba. Look at this. Aye, not this one. Look at this. If you look at this depiction, at the back here, there's what we call Ichoba. At the back of this pharaoh, there's an Ichoba that extends down. Ichoba is the tail of a bull. Why is it Ichoba that's being used? Because Ichoba represents virility, the ability to reproduce. Here it is. It represents the authority that comes with the ability to reproduce, continuity, fruitfulness, fertility. And it is a core requirement in ancient cultures that a leader is able to reproduce. Otherwise, who's going to take over from him? So the pharaohs wear Ichoba at the back. Today, it's being carried around. And then without Ichoba, what you can see at the hand here, you can see Igud, Iwisa, Isagila. That's why in mythology, you'll find cows that speak, cows that save people in our culture. It's not an actual cow, it's a king. You may not know the name of the king, but it is a king that existed. It's a king that existed, and we personify it, or we sort of like preserve it as something like that you can relate to on a daily basis. Anyway, let's go back. The Ben stone. I think this is one of the creation myths. Let's hear what they are saying. They're saying that it is it's a form of ancient Egyptian religion. The Ben was the mound. It It was the mound that arose from the primordial waters of Nu, upon which the creator deity Atum settled. So Atum, the atom, settled upon a mound in Dulu. In Dulu. Is it Dulu? The mound is the settlement of Atum, the very core element of existence. So in mythology, Atum settled upon Benben. Benben rose out of Nu. Now, who is Nu? Now we have to go to the Ennead now. Look at Nu. Without even knowing what Nu represents, from the colors alone, you should know that this is water. From the colors alone, you should know that this is water. The endless waters of chaos. there's a word there's a word that we use. Amanunga for water. Amanunga. Now, you have two elements of Nu. The chaotic element and the quiet element. Because you have still water and violent water. That's why you can have Nu and Nuna or Nunet. Both meaning the inert one, which is the still one, and also the endlessly chaotic one. Water can be chaotic and still at the same time in different areas. And that is Nu. So you have the masculine version of Nu and you have the feminine version of Nu. We call it Amanunga. Amanunga. Elderly women use that word for water. Amanunga. The Nuna. The Nuna. This is where it's written. Nuna or Nuna. Nana. Amanunga. The endless waters, the primordial waters, the waters used to cover us. That's why in the beginning, I said you needed the hot wind or the wind that rises, Shu, because it rises and it hovers above the waters. So you have the waters and then you have the winds, which manifest now when you add moisture, they manifest into mist. Now look at it. Look at it in this way. Look at it in this way. If you look carefully, you've got Shu and you've got Nu here. You've got Shu and then you've got Nu. Now there's trees there. Those trees could not have grown there. Well, these look like trees that grow in land, unless there's a piece of land in there. That is the Benben. In mythology, they explain that the first piece of land that emerged was the Benben. It was the Benben. Now let's go back to understand the Benben. The Benben is the dwelling of who? Of Atum, the complete one, the one who cannot be destroyed. And this is the Benben. It's also related to the obelisk, the phallus-shaped feature. Obelisk. Oopsie daisy. The obelisk, the phallus-shaped feature, the one who looks like an erect phallus, the one who points up high and rises up high, represents or is related to the very first land to emerge from the water called the Benben. The sacred stone. Now, if you look at Ben, it's an old word which means children, but it also means to build. A building block in essence. Ben comes from the word ben, which means to shine, as the shiny building blocks, the bricks that were burned outside. Guys, can you hear? The bricks that were burned outside, when they were made, they were scorched in the fire, they had a shiny appearance. Ubane. Ubane, the shiny thing. The word umbane comes from the word ubane, which means shiny. Ubane comes from the word and gives us the word isibane, the sparkling one. People have said that the pyramids at some point used to be sparkly, used to look golden. They say they used to be golden. So they used to have this sparkly appearance. They used to have this sparkly appearance. And this is where the whole concept of the ben, the shiny stone, the shiny blocks, they are shiny because when these blocks were made, a lot of the times they would be scorched in the heat and they would come out white. So ben is bane bane. Bane means to be shiny, to be bright. That's why we use the same word bane for isibane, the brightening thing. Umbane, the bright thing. Ben represents the mound. And I believe this is also the same inspiration that gives us the pyramids later. The pyramids represent the dwelling of Atum, the dwelling of creation. Also, the graves of kings are pyramids. The graves of kings are pyramids, the representation of the original mound of waters. So from the waters, the primordial waters, comes out the what? The phallus-shaped. From the water comes out the phallus-shaped head, the ben, which is the dwelling of Atum, the atom. The atom dwells in the ben. That's why I've always told you the name Abantu is absolutely related to the name for the earth itself. I've always told you the name Umuntu, it means the earth being. But people don't like it. They want the name Umuntu to mean Anunnaki. Anunnaki is a completely different meaning. Into, what do you think? Into the cognate. It's derived from the same root. It's derived from the same root. After Ben, then let's go to the Ennead so that we understand what this whole concept is about. Let's go to the Ennead. Now, this is the Ennead. The previous one we did was the Ogdoad, the 8, the 9. No. We go to the Ogdoad now. We already did the Ennead. Then we go to the Ogdoad. The key today, guys, is not to teach mythology because you could just learn it on your own, but to decipher the naming and bring it back. That's what I'm doing here. I'm not teaching this mythology. You could go and read it on your own. It's available publicly. I'm just trying to show that to decipher, you don't have to follow some Egyptologist. So the Ogdoad is these 8 beings now. A lot of them have animal faces. The first one of the Ogdoad is Nu. And if you look at the name of Nu, it's 3 waves of waters. And this is the masculine name and the feminine name. But it's still a manifestation of the primordial water. I've already done that one. Out of whom the Ben comes. Now let's go to Chech. Chech is Chech. Or Chuch. Or Chach. Or Chacha. Depends on your dialect. Or Kuku. Kuku. It is the personification of infinity or eternity in the Ogdoad, in the ancient Egyptian religion. His name originally means flood. Kuku or Chech or Chachu or Chuch. Look at this. Chuch or Kuku. Flood. Is it Kukula? cuckoo. Is it kukula? The flood. This is the representation of flood. Personification of flood. Oh no, who? It's who or ha ha. Because when you laugh, you say ha ha, and therefore laughter is a flood of emotions. Yay! Yay! Atuka. So his name originally meant flood, referring to the watery chaos of Nu that the Kemetic peoples believed existed before the creation of the world. So Hech personified this aspect of the primordial waters. Hech's female counterpart and consort was Iskukulagaz or Chauchet, which is simply the feminine form of his name. The feminine form of his name. Umpo is asking, Umpo Robert Masete is asking, so Egyptians spoke Xhosa? And I'm going to excuse myself from that question because I'm sorry, I cannot go back to that. People who were here from the beginning can freely explain in the comments. I'm not going to explain it again because I already explained what I'm doing here. Let me continue, Mr. Makar. Yeah, let
Thank
me
you,
continue.
Rena. Tse ding, we are, like we said, tse ding, we are punching above people's heads. So,
No.
yeah, they're still under concussion and hooked on phonics, so they won't get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it.
And also,
Eh?
man, we already started with this yesterday. Yabo. We already did this
Hayi,
yesterday.
chubeka mhlekazi thina.
All right.
We are getting it. We are getting it, Tina. Thank you.
Yes. So, this is a kukula, the manifestation of flooding, but also not just flooding, but infinity, really, abundance and too much. Kukula, the word itself comes from the root ku, which means to grow. And then if you duplicate it, ku, and then la at the end is to say the action of ku, growth and growth and growth. So this is the second. This is the second aspect of the Ogdoad. Remember, the first aspect is Nu and Naunet, the waters, the primordial waters. And then we have Kuk and Kuket, or Chauch and Chauchet, the infinity, the flood. Now we're going to do Amun and Amunet. I already touched on Amun yesterday. It's simple. It talks to the invisible element, at least invisible to the naked eye. It talks to the invisible element, at least invisible to the naked eye. If you look at here, imna, muna means to see, ubona, mona, mu in kwe, mu in kwe, mu'a to see, mu'a, the one you can't see, the negative, because is always negative. Ndiyazi, I do not know, but ndiyazi, I do know. Diko, I'm not here, but diko, I am here. Ndizi, I not coming, but diez, I am coming. So is the negative. Munwa, to see. So munwa, the one cannot be seen, the hidden one, the invisible force. It's also attested by epithets in the pyramid text. Oh, you, the great deity whose name is unknown. The unknown. That's what you have with Amun. Now, when Amun is merged with Ra, remember Ra is the word you use. Ikasisutu Setswana. When you are basking in the sun, you are absorbing the what? The Ra. You are absorbing the Ra. Ora litsatsi. Ora is to absorb the Ra, the rays of the sun. Or Ta. Ta and Ra is the exact same thing. Ta and Ra is the exact same thing. I've discussed this in detail in previous videos. The transition from T to R and from R to T. Tuma and Ruma is the exact same thing. Tula and ruler is the exact same thing. That's why you have Eku Ruleni, which is Eku Tuleni. Reka and Tenga is the exact same thing. Ora and Ota is the same thing. Ra, the rays of the sun. Ra, the sun. So Amun, Ra, the invisible one, who's
Yebo.
merged now with the rays of the sun. Umtawelanga. Lilita. Latita, ilanga. Even the very appearance of the sun, we describe that as Ta. Ta. Ilita, umta, is Tata. The rays. So Amun was then merged with Ra. Amun meaning the unknown, the invisible. This speaks to now what gives us the ability to do photosynthesis. This works hand in hand with the other principle of Osiris, the principle of produce, the principle of agriculture. Amun, Ra, and Osiris, if you look at it in a practical sense, the principle of agriculture requires the sun so that photosynthesis can take place. Photosynthesis in and of itself requires water so that oxygen can. It requires water to feed the plants. You also require gases in the sky. So all those now so-called gods, Shu, the sky, no, the air, and then you've got Nu, the water, you've got Hapi, the flooding river. All those things come into play now when you look at a culture that is based on agriculture, whether it's livestock, whether it's planting. When you look at a culture that is based on those kind of agricultures, these things make sense. They make complete sense. So Amun, the one who cannot be seen, the name is very basic, guys. It's not Amen. You see now, the Amen of Hebrew is a completely different word. It's a completely different word. Because Amun is the negative form, to not see, to not know. Aman in Hebrew means, it means true, actually. Two different words. Hebrew, Aman, true. True. In fact, if you go to Aramaic, some of the dialects of Aramaic, like Syriac, you even find it as Amanet. Actually, let me show you. Because people now seem to try and link Amen and Amun. These are two different things at two different times. Not everything has to be the same because they sound the same. They don't have to be the same. They don't have to be the same. Truth, sure, faithfulness, truly, truly. My brother Muren, how do you say truly in your language?
Kaneti.
Exactly. But bona aman or amanne. Sometimes when they use the feminine version, it's amanete. But I'm
Hmm.
done. I'm not gonna
Oh
talk
yeah,
any
yeah, yeah,
further
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah, like
even that,
omelette.
yes.
Hmm.
So you have Amun and the female counterpart Amunet. So we did Nu and the female counterpart Nunet. We did Hach or Kukula and it's Kukulagazi, the female counterpart. We did Amun and the female counterpart. Now we're gonna do the last pair of the Ogdoad because it's 8. You have Cook and Cooket. You have Cook and Cooket. Now this one has to do with darkness. It has to do with darkness. It has to do with invisibility. So Cook and Kuket, or Kek and Kauket, represent the night and day. The night is important because it allows us to see the lights in the sky. If it doesn't get dark, you're not going to see the stars. If it does not get dark, you're not going to see the stars. Let me read actually. Kek and Kauket, in some aspects, represent the night and day and were called raiser of the night and raiser of the light and raiser of the night. The one who brings the light, ukukanya, cook and Kuket. The one who brings ukukanya. Both day and night, ukukanya kukhona. Just because it's night time doesn't mean akukhanya. Ukukanya kukhona. And obviously, if you go deeper and deeper, one key thing about these ideas, well, these are ideas. One key thing is that with time, they develop and develop and develop. They become more and more personified, or they become less and less clear. It's like the idea of unkulunkulu. It's like that idea. If you go back in time, the definition changes as time moves on. What people understand as unkulunkulu today, 500 years back would have been a different understanding. So this is Cook and Kuket, ukukanya, nokukanyagazi, the one who brings up the light. So all these four ideas, ukukanya nokukanyagazi, Cook and Kuket, amanunga namanungagazi, the great water, amun ongabonwa, and the fourth one I forgot now. It's kukula and it's kukulagazi. So you're talking about light and darkness. You're talking about the invisible force of the sun. We're talking about flood, is kukula, and we're talking about the water of the primordial times. Do you notice, guys, how everything always connects with nature? Do you notice it always comes back and connects with some part of nature? This is why our ancestors spoke about indalo. This is how our ancestors spoke about indalo. What is indalo? What is indalo? What is nature? Is what they call divinity. Nature. Nature. Intalo. Indalo leyo. Indalo leyo. If you see, you need to avoid, when they start to do this, they insert their own vowels. But the word was literally 3 consonants. 3 consonants. Indalo. That's talo. Talo. Look at this. I worship Ra. He is a name of nature. I worship Ra from Hukora Litsatsi, Ukota Ilanga. Ilita is a name of Ntaro, Indalo. Nature, God, Indalo. And then you wonder why our forefathers used the word indalo and imvelo more than any other. Look at this. This is indalo, guys. If you cannot see that, this is literally indalo. It is, this is indalo, because what you have here is the water. What you have here is the sky and the moving disk emitting its rays. What you have here is the mound, the physical earth. All these things are personified as gods. They are personified as gods today. Burana Makar, you have something to say as I'm taking another sip of water. Hey, Makarabaf. Say something, my man. Am I still in line?
Yes, yes, Mkhona. This thing is lagging. But yes. 135 billion, gazillion, trillion, amanamba angapheli percent. You know, it connects. It connects, and I hope our people actually see the connection. You know, for me, it's when I first stumbled upon this, hey, yeah, no. Because we are able, guys, to tell the story from our perspective. Yabo? And some people will say that we are actually very hard. We are trying to disempower other people. But like when you look at it, this is actually a ploy to just disempower us, because this language, it's not just a language that is lost. It's a language that we speak. We speak it unknowingly, as the brother is explaining. It's there, and I wish I could. Okay, let me just do this. Let me also show you some stuff, as some of the things that Umkulu was talking about.
Yeah, but I'm still here, brother. I'm just giving you a chance, just in
Yeah,
case
yeah,
maybe you want me to say when I say something, yeah, bro. But
yeah.
I'm gonna go to another layer now.
Yes, we are doing the very same thing, Umkulu. Don't
All
worry.
right.
Yes. Because I'm also doing the. Just give me a sec. The same connection, you know. Because the idea has always been, the language is not spoken by us. And when you look at it, for instance, even if I don't have to show anything, like when you look at it, for instance, when you even look at the word Anubis, right? Anubis in itself is actually a Greek name, because most of the time when Greeks they end names, they will put like that S at the end.
Yes.
Melanos. Yeah, like I can mention a few, but I'll just say that. So it's during that Ptolemy time, if you think about it, because there was the Ptolemy dynasty who came through, and they did change some things actually, but it was after some things were changed. But so when you are taking it to the essence, because even when we look into history, they really found the South very late. They found the South very late, if you think about it. But anyway, we will do those connections some other time. If you are ready, my king,
Yeah, yeah.
you can go ahead.
All right, my brother. Yeah. Okay. As we move now ahead, there's something I wanna just touch on quickly. So you can just put my screen bigger there. I once made this post years ago. I made this post some time ago. I don't remember when. 2023, July 6, right? Now, I spoke about APEP here. The snake, the symbol of chaos and destruction. This is APEP. APEP symbolizes the underworld. It's something that symbolizes the underworld. The underworld, guys, is the belief that, when someone passes on, there's a space that they go to. It's called the underworld. So that's what it means. But APEP is always, you know, um, displayed as this snake that twists and coils and twists and coils. Now let's look at, obviously, Apep or Apopis is Greek, right? It's the Greeks who wrote it this way. The real name was PP, 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 which is Pimpi. Pimpi. This is Pimpi. This is Pimpi. The twisting, coiling, the back and the forth, the continuous cycle. It could mean infinity. It could mean the analemma of the sun. But it also used to represent disorder and chaos as being the manifestation of the underworld itself. Because We die, we give birth. We die, we give birth. We die, we give birth. It's like the movement of the sun, the analemma, the infinity. So the opposite of Apep, as representing chaos and the underworld, is Ma'at. From just the name Ma'at, you don't need to think too further. What is Ma'at? It's order, balance. My brother, what is order? Order is when things are standing, the way things are standing. What is to stand, Master Makara, in your language? What is to stand in your language? Exactly. Emma. That is the primary verb. And it's connected to another word, which means truth and justice. The great order. Balance. Isimo. Hey. Look at now. When you see this feather, you know this feather has to do with weight. Weight. Isimo is derived from ukuma. So isimo is just a noun form. Ukuma is a verb of the verb. That's the actual word ma, to stand, to be in an orderly manner. The standing of things, the ordering of things. Hence order, balance, and harmony. Ukuma kwezinto. Art is a superlative form. It's also a feminine. The opposite of ma'at is two. It's apep and isfet. Apep and isfet have two things in common. Apep, symbolized by the snake, chaos. Chaos. Ipimpi. You guys know my pimpi. You guys know my pimpi. But another opposite of ma'at is isfet. What do you think isfet comes from? I want to make an example. Isi for kazi. Injustice, chaos, violence, evil. From the word fa, ukufa. Isfet as an opposite of ma'at. Ukuma, isimo, order and justice. The opposite form is isi for chaos, war. When there's war, we say ilizwe libhubhile, lifile. Isifo sezwe is chaos and war. Imfazwe. Isfet. So you have Apip or Ipimp, and then you have Isfet, the great death, the chaos, the violence, and then you've got Ma'at. These are three principles. Destruction. So these people, it's clear to see what they are doing. They take a characteristic, a principle, they personify it in a way, then they're able to deal with it individually. They're able to deal with it individually. Isfet is connected to Apep, the underworld or disorder. Isi4 is when someone is passed on. Yeah. So these are very, for me, it's not even difficult to see these things. For me, it's not difficult to see these things because they make sense. I don't need to dig too deep to see them as well. They make sense. This is also where you get some beliefs now. Because if you look at, let's say, tornadoes, tornadoes have an underlying element of chaos. and we personify them as this massive snake called Inganyama. You understand? Now, whether it's real or not is irrelevant, because I mean, there's a lot of records. People have seen these things and all that. But the idea is that the snake, because it twists and coils and turns, it's a representation of chaos, and it's always represented as something that's under the surface, which means underneath the surface there's chaos that lurks. Underneath the surface there's chaos that lurks, even as a person. There's another one. In Hebrew, they call it Leviathan. They call it Leviathan. It's seen as this sea creature, this serpent that twists and turns in the sea. It's called Leviathan. I don't like these weird drawings, but okay, it's the closest thing I can find. Ugh, it's fine. But there is a similar idea of the Leviathan. It's underneath the sea, and
Like I said,
so a lot of ancient cultures have these ideas. Makar.
I'm saying, is it like a snake? Can you hear me?
Oh, damn. Yeah. So it is a snake, actually. It is a snake. So the name Leviathan itself means to twist. Levi. Levi means to twist something. Yeah, bon. So Leviathan, it means the great twisting and turning, coiling, like a snake. You know how a snake can coil itself. It's a
Yes.
great snake. Yeah, bon. And you also have what? A lot of these, what people consider as angels, a lot are actually reptilian in form. They're reptilian in form. You've got, what do they call them, Konje? You have the cherubim, the seraphim. They are fiery serpents. It's literally serpents, like snakes that spit out fire, or that are in fire. But that's not the point. I'm just trying to draw some similarities, because people take these things from face value, and if you actually study the core, you realize that these are actually stories that are not unique to certain cultures. These stories go around in many different cultures, but that's not the point. I don't want to deviate. So the reason why I'm talking about these core elements of Kwamuntu, like your Inyard and your Ogdoad, the reason why I'm talking about them, these are the earliest forms, and they deal with the whole idea of creation. People now will argue about the populations of these places. They will argue about the population of these places using hybridized ideas that have been hybridized by Asiatics, hybridized by invaders from the Mediterranean. You can't use hybridized. It's like Zulu people, Xhosa people, Sotho people today fighting about history from the 1800s. That history is already compromised. It's not your pure type of history. The books that are written around that time are compromised. I heard today someone was talking about Amamfengu, how King Yinza called Amamfengu izinja zakhe. But that report in and of itself actually was written by literally Europeans, and Harry Smith was there. The most evil man, Harry Smith, he's the one who said, no, Yinza called Amamfengu izinja zakhe. And now Amamfengu and Amaxhosa will hate each other. That's hybridized history. It's not genuine. And that is the biggest problem right now with our people. When we talk about things like this, no, they want to talk about the hybrid version, the mixed masala version of everything. So you want to go back to the earliest form of the history, because that earliest form is genuine and it has integrity to the people who came with it. And the beautiful thing is that you can still come back to the South and find those ideas. Now I'm gonna give you 2 minutes, my brother, to have your comments. I'm gonna now come through the South and click languages and see how these things align. So I'm gonna give you just 2 minutes while I prepare my slides.
Thank you. Injalo, injalo mhlekazi. Injalo. People have been asking me which book are you reading. So I've been just telling them that there's a book called Bantu Rosetta Stone. You can check it out. It's there online. It's free, and you can find some of these correlations. Let me just show you one. For instance, we in the South say "Tandi nyama." You guys can see my screen. You guys, we all love meat, and in ancient Egyptian, as you can see here, Bati nyama, INM. Nah, I hope you guys can see my screen. INM. And that's a skin of a human being, or it's a skin in general. But in Bemba, they say inyama. And then obviously in isiZulu nesixhosa bathi inyama. Thina beSuthu we say nama. Just one example nje. Just to show ukuthi there might have been cases where some people actually say that this is not true. There's no way that we as the people of the South, Central, West Africa, East Africa, we never occupied that place. There's irrefutable evidence. It's just, let me see, because we were talking about a dog, and you did say that Iwanai, right? Just to show that, yeah, people might think that the language we speak, they mock us and they say, oh, it's a click language, so it could have not been developed. But in honesty, it's not like you understand how to speak the language. Nai, iwa. In Luvala, kawa. Inja. There is more correlation in their languages that we speak. And PT, our people here in the South, they actually haven't gone as far as doing their own analysis. Like us being the ones that are doing the analysis, not Europeans, not Americans. I trust that will hit home because it's very imperative right now when we are having people and ideologies that we are Hebrew Israelite. But look at what Umhlonishwa was talking about when he was talking about some of the words where you have a female determinative, TI. I was not saying it in general. I'm talking about a certain people, But like, look at this. You understand? Like this TI, we also find it in the South amongst Amaswati. Not to say you don't find it in isiZulu or isiXhosa. You find it. You find it. We do find these similarities. So someone was asking me what is the name of the book. The name of the book is Bantu Rosetta Stone. But the one that Brother Sandile is actually reading from some Wikipedia. It's just connecting the dots for you. Amaswati Anguni, yes, of course. So yeah. So This for me is what actually started this whole thing. Like Inkomati, nai. Inkomati. And you guys, you know it's a cow. KaSesotho ke kgomo, in isiZulu inkomo, in Tsonga it's homo. So yeah, you might think that you are far, but you're not really that far. You are not that far. It's just that we haven't done our own due diligence and went there and read the pyramids with understanding. We rely on Champollion to tell us what we are supposed to read or what the so-called hieroglyphs are saying. But in essence, these people, they didn't speak this language. Nor did they understand the depth of the language. And which is what we actually can showcase. I liked it when my brother said that we need to be able to actually stand with professors. The very same way Theophila Opengas did. The very same way Chik Diop did against 47 Europeans who don't speak the language. So we've got an advantage. We can do it ourselves. And if we are serious about it, we'll even go as far as donating and putting cash together and doing it ourselves. And then we can write a study about this and make it a reality. Not to say it's something that must just end here on what you call this thing, TikTok. It's a serious study. It's a serious study that must be carried out because we've got the likes of what's this Arab guy Zahi Ibrahim or whatever, who is purporting the story that the ancient Kemites are actually from Levant, subjugating the cosmology, the knowledge, the astrology, the metaphysics, the physics, the science, everything, making it look like it comes from the Levant. But it's not true. If they were debated by two people, verses 47, you must understand the power and greatness of our ancestors, guys. We must give a shout out and respect. We must give them their flowers while they can smell them. Unfortunately, some of them have passed. But Theophilus Openga, Professor Theophilus Openga is still alive. There was a debate, when was it? 1980 something in UNESCO. They were debating the origin of the ancient Kamuntu civilization. And they won. But even today, they're still purporting that and pushing that nonsense that, hey, it was the people from the Levant. So even though we don't have so much money and finances, we still have the will and the power and the knowledge and the language, which is something we never lost. If you are ready, Nkosiam.
All right, my brother. Yeah, I want to bring it closer to home now. So just let me know when you guys can see. So we did this, the Ennead. That is to say, Atum, Shu, Tefnut, Geb, Nut, Osiris. These ones are very easy. It's these ones basically. This is your Atum, the complete one, the one who finishes Yatsima. And then you have your Shu and Tefnut, and then this is your Geb, this is your Nut, and all the four descendants, the great grandchildren of Atum. Anyway, I wanna bring it back to home. Ne? There's something I wanna show you. Because mythology is a very big part of this. So what you see here is a K9. This is a K9. And then what you see here is the full moon in the back. And then here is a vulture. Here is a vulture. Now, if you know anything about a hunting society, you know that they understand the language of the moon. In fact, in our click languages, that the moon has the strangest and most difficult clicks. The moon has the strangest and most difficult clicks. There's one click, I don't know how it sounds, but I imagine it sounds something like. It is said that it's one of the sounds that the moon emits when it communicates. There are ways that the ancients, explain the communication by the moon. Anyway, the full moon is one of the happy feelings of the moon. It's not Q. No, 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 no. It's different to Q. It's very different. Q is, this one is. Anyway, so this is one of the sounds that is said to be emitted by the moon. But the moon communicates sometimes through observation, sometimes, when it changes the seasons, the different phases of the moon, we understand them in a particular context. So the full moon, no, it's not X. It's a click that's not used. It's not X, it's not C, it's not Q. I don't know it. But it is said the pronunciation, you have to coil the tongue and shift it and pull it back like. So you're not gonna know how to write it because I also don't. The full moon is a happy moon. It is a happy moon for the hunter. But one of the first hunters in nature generally are canines. Canines hunt. Canines hunt and they are very successful. You could use the example of the wild dog. These are the most successful hunters in the wild. We also have others who are scavengers, like your jackal, and then you have dogs, different types of canines. But anyway, you have a canine here and another bird here. Both can be scavengers, or this one can be a hunter. Now, in some of the mythologies of our forefathers, they tell us that. I'm going to read for you just now. They observe that in the wild, the jackal discovers an ostrich egg. He will scream, by the way. When this canine sees an ostrich egg, this canine will scream. This is why we call this canine Iras. It's called Iras or Unilashe. Iras or Unilashe means the singing noise maker. It screams for the white vulture or any vulture really, a scavenger. This bird will follow the canine, and when they come to the nest, which is covered by the ostrich hen, the vulture will take out its claws and it will grab a stone. Yes, that's Anubis right there. That's correct. It will take out a stone and it will smash the egg. Then the vulture and the canine will enjoy it together. They will enjoy it together. Now, this vulture ended up representing Mother Neith. Mother Neith. I think in modern times, that's what it's called. Mother Neith is what the vulture ended up representing. Now, let's look who Mother Neith is and understand why the vulture ended up representing Mother Neith. Hey, searching weird stuff now. Mother Neith. She was an ancient Egyptian deity. She was connected with warfare, with motherhood. As a mother goddess, she was said to be the creator of the world. She was present in funeral religions and eternal organs and stuff like that. If you know anything about a vulture, it's a scavenger. It deals with death stuff. It deals with death stuff. Now, the vulture ended up becoming Mother Neith, and the canine became her Mercury. But this is what Anubis is. Literally, this is Anubis. Let's see. Let's explore if we can see any representation of something like this. You have your Anubis here, you have your Neith here. It's like a vulture and a jackal in the wild. But I like the beautiful full moon at the back because it shows a successful hunting night. It shows a successful hunting night. So what you end up having now, is the personification of these things as the cultures evolve. So you have Anubis as a distinct entity, Mother Neith as a distinct entity, the moon as a distinct entity, those who have passed on, over and over and over again. But if you take it back to its proto-dynastic form, which is what I've been doing, all I've been talking about are proto-dynastic beliefs before there were dynasties, before the politics consumed the minds of the leaders. This was the pure way to view things. Just nature and understanding the varying elements of nature. Now, you're not going to take something after 2,000 years of dynasties and expect it to sound exactly the same as this one. It's not going to be like that. After 2,000 years of dynasties, trust me, there's a lot of foreign influence. Politics have completely changed. So we have to be cognizant of that as well. So I think, my brother, for today, I'm gonna stop there on my side. There's stuff I could talk about, but let's leave it for the last day because I want to
Yes.
talk about the sacred ones. I want to talk about the Kanu, the sacred ones, and this is gonna connect us to the Anunnaki and the shapeshifters. But let's leave that for tomorrow. But the key concept is that all these names, and even the language actually of these early populations, it did have cliques. The language did have cliques. In fact, clique languages in Africa went from South, Central, East, Horn of Africa, and Northern Africa. Clique languages were spoken as far as Asia, by the way.
You
As
can
far
test.
as Asia, Click languages were spoken there. And it's important, even some of the names of these, For example, a dog in Kwe dialect, it's Anup. It's an Anup. Inbwa, Anubis. You have the other word, Grabe, for the land, which is Geb. Yabo. And then the other words like Ma'at and all that, they still exist in that form without clicks even. Because it's not just click words that prove queer element, but these Central and Southern African populations and the pre-dynastic proto-populations of what ended up becoming these not Nilotic, these cultures along the river, because those cultures are not just Nilotic cultures. It's various cultures that start the key is that they start in Central Africa. People get touched when we talk about these things, because they've built an identity around Bantuism or anti-Bantuism, like your Nilotes, and your Kushites and all that. They've built this post-colonial identity around anti-Bantuism. So they are so blinded by their own delusion and obsession that they don't realize that the very cultures they claim, the source of those cultures is Central Africa. That's my submission. And lastly, when we decipher history, we don't decipher history, at least from my end. I don't decipher history to sell a narrative of whatever. It's just because you observe that, oh wow, there's already a narrative that's being sold here. There's already a narrative that's being sold. So sometimes you have to help clear the plaque in people's eyes. But our history has integrity. Our history has integrity. It cannot be changed. The anti-Bantuism, the anti-Blackism in these communities, we see it. We see it. And we are going to crack it and scatter it into pieces. We're going to scatter it into pieces, whether it's the anti-Bantuism here in South Africa, which we see as well, or the anti-Bantuism in the Nile Valley as well. So, my brother, that's my submission for today. And
Yeah.
I'm out, brother man. I'm out. My back is painful. I need some rest.
Yeah, no, I see. Push over my 3 hours today. Yeah, guys. So tomorrow we're still gonna have a session, and it's mostly going to be a small session from Upra Sandil, and then we're gonna have some question and answer session, just for
Yes.
for the closing, because
Yes,
tomorrow
yes,
we're
please.
actually closing. Yeah, tomorrow siyayivala le ndaba lena, and then we will get into other stuff because Brother Sandile is also hosting his lives, and he's got a lot of subjects that he actually covers. So I trust you will follow him on TikTok. You will follow him on YouTube. He's got a channel on YouTube, Sandile Matikane, Sandile Tukani. Sorry, Sandile Tukani. Just search for Sandile Tukani on YouTube. You will find him. He's got a lot of videos where he talks about our story, where he talks about language, and where he talks about our history. So I trust you will do the right thing. Just go and follow the brother. He's got a lot of information, and yeah, that's it for me. Brother Abza, greetings.
Greetings,
Guys, bye-bye.
Sandy. Before you jump, my brother, I have a question. Maybe it's directed to you. Maybe you also can maybe dive in. The question is Nxibo, the attire that we Xhosa people in the traditional attire of the Zulu nation. Why do we have similar pictures in ancient Kemet? Like ancient Kemet has got these portraits of exactly similar attire, similar everything, like
Yeah.
from beads to everything.
You're asking why is it similar?
Yeah, is there any correlation? What's happening there?
Yeah, it's what we were discussing today and yesterday, Mos. So the civilization of Kemet is a Central African civilization. Central African civilization is a Central and Southern African civilization. So the line you see, did you attend yesterday?
No, I just got here now. I'm late, by the way. Yesterday I wasn't here, and I just got here while you guys are busy closing.
Yeah, no, you are late. Like,
Yeah. So it is. There is a correlation. There is a correlation, but it's not. It's much deeper. The very origin of those Nile civilizations is Central and Southern African. Let me put it like that. The very origin. Yabo. So please go check that. I'm not gonna go deep into it because I've got some things to take care of right now, Yabon. But you can just always talk to Brother Lee Makara. I'm sure they'll be able to guide you. I explained it thoroughly yesterday, Yabon. But there is correlation. The source of all these civilizations and the dress code is Southern and Central African. I'm out, guys.
Thanks, brother. Thanks. Thank you, Lee.
Brother, before you go, I wanted to ask a question to both.
wait, guys. Like I said tomorrow we're gonna ask questions. So you guys must note your questions. The gentleman is gonna
Yes,
come
sir.
tomorrow. Yes. Unfortunately, not to be funny
No,
or
no, it's okay. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
okay.
So
Believe me, I
tomorrow you're
get it.
gonna have the same session. We're gonna have the same session. Just dodge down your questions, and then yeah, we will talk about them. Like
I
keep
won't
it to
forget
the
it.
subject. Yeah, keep it to the subject. Currently we are trying to tackle the whole ancient Kemet story, language, tradition, stuff like
That's
that.
the question. That's the question. You already know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, touch down your question. We're gonna have a question and answer tomorrow. Like we're gonna have a question and answer. So there's going to be a lot of you who are gonna come through and ask questions. We'll be willing to actually, answer those questions. No problem. But obviously today we just wanted to present. We wanted the
Obviously.
brother to present, yeah, so that people can actually see it for themselves and they can also go and do their own due diligence. We are not saying, hey, no, we're not saying this is cast on stone. Well, it is cast on stone there in ancient Egypt. It is cast on stone. But we are saying that, like, go do your own research, go do your own research, and then you'll tell us if whatever that we are saying is poppycock or we are telling the truth. That's what it is. So yeah, this live is going to be I'm gonna send it to Brother Sandile, and then he's gonna post it on his live, on his YouTube, sorry. So please just follow him on TikTok, follow him on YouTube. Like all of the information that we talk about and more. All of the information that we're talking about and more you will see. So yeah, and you'll understand that the click languages are actually the origin of so-called ancient Egypt. So whether people like it or not, and they mock us and they try and tell us that we are from Asia, and they are telling the story half, it's not gonna work. We have done the work, and some of us are still doing the work. So if you wanna do your own thing and follow dogma, that's up to you. But I would like to love you and leave you, my people. Ke makara makara, mofokeng, Shlolo sa makgethe. I love you and leave you. Tamako, lesedi le kganya. Danko.